Hi everyone, it's Tatiana from Tatiana's Everyday Food, and today I'm going to be making for you guys a really great cake. It's going to be a coffee flavored cake layers with a salted caramel frosting. We're going to use a chocolate ganache to finish off the cake, and we're going to add my coffee macaroon cookies on the top just to add a little bit more garnish. Now, I'm not going to be making the coffee macaroons in this video. I will post the link to the video in the video description below, and you can also find the recipe and video on my website. So let's get started on the cake. To start off the recipe, we're going to cream together 1 1/3 cup of butter that I've softened to room temperature. I'm going to place it into my mixer, and I'm going to add 2 1/4 cup of white granulated sugar. I'm going to whisk this on high speed until it's really light and fluffy. Next, I'm going to add 3 large eggs, and I'm going to add 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract, and then we're just going to keep whisking it until everything is well combined. And now for my liquid ingredients. I have 1.5 cups of buttermilk, and I have 3 tablespoons of instant coffee. I placed it into a food processor. It's a really nice fine powder. I'm going to add it into my buttermilk. I'm going to whisk this all together. For my dry ingredients, I'm going to be adding 3 cups of all-purpose flour. I have 3 3/4 teaspoons of baking powder, and I have just a dash of salt. I'm going to add the baking powder and the salt into my flour. Just take a spoon and combine it together. And now I'm going to add my ingredients alternating. I'm going to add half of my buttermilk first, and then I'm going to add 1/3 of my flour, and then again the buttermilk until everything is well combined. So I lined 2 8-inch cake pans with parchment paper, and I sprayed a little bit of nonstick spray on the sides, and I've preheated my oven to 350 degrees. Now I'm going to divide my cake batter evenly between the 2 pans. Then we're going to pop these in the oven and then bake them for about 45 minutes or until a little cake tester inserted into the center comes out clean. I have my cake layers all done now, and I've set them onto a cooling rack just so they can cool completely, and once they're cooled, we're going to slice them in half. Meanwhile, we can start working on our frosting. So for our salted caramel frosting, I'm going to be using 1 pound of butter, and I have 1/2 pound of salted butter and 1/2 of unsalted. I've softened it to room temperature. I'm going to add it into my mixer, and we're going to whisk it on high speed until the butter is really light and fluffy. It's going to be really pale and white in color. Next, we're going to add 14 ounces of dulce de leche, and this is a thick caramel made out of sweetened condensed milk, and we're going to add it into our mixer bowl and whisk it all together. And this looks delicious. Once the cake layers are cool, just take a long serrated knife and level off the top so we have a really nice level cake. I'm just using a bread knife here, just run it along the edges all the way around, and then you could just eat this delicious top here. And now for putting our cake together. So I've prepared some strong coffee. I placed it into a dispenser bottle. I've placed my first layer on my cake platter, and what we're going to do is soak each cake layer with a little bit of coffee. And I love dispenser bottles for this because it makes the process super easy. Just go all the way around. It's going to make the cake layer super moist. It's going to add a little bit more of that coffee flavor. And we're going to add a thin layer of our salted caramel frosting. Just place a little bit on top. Take a cake spatula and spread it evenly all the way to the edges. I'm going to top it with my next cake layer, and we're going to repeat the process for our remaining cake layers. And now for my top layer, I've pre-soaked it before I place it face down. I'm going to go ahead and top it off. And then I'll remove that parchment paper. Just taking my cake spatula and really trying to smooth out the top and the sides. When we put on the chocolate ganache, you want everything to be really smooth. Now we're going to place our cake into the refrigerator for about 30 minutes just so it can set on the outside. And now for our chocolate, I'm going to bring to a simmer 1 cup of cream on the stovetop, and you want to watch it carefully just so that it doesn't burn and it doesn't boil over, and then we're going to come back and we're going to add our chocolate. To my hot cream, I'm going to add 9 ounces of semi-sweet chocolate. We're going to whisk this all together until it cools down and it starts to thicken. I'm going to place a Ziploc bag, and you can use any kind of plastic bag or reusable pastry bag. Just place it into a cup. And we're going to pour about half of our chocolate into here once it's cooled a little bit. We're gonna cut a small little snippet of the bag off the bottom. And now we're gonna be ready to decorate our cake. So we're gonna go around the edges and make like a little swoop go down. Just go around the edges carefully. And we can just use the remaining to fill in the center. Now I'm going to place this into the refrigerator. I'm going to let the cake set up completely before I finish off the top with a few more garnishes. And now for my finishing touches, I've reserved a little bit of my salted caramel frosting for the top. And we're going to pipe little stars, about 8 of them on the top. We're going to finish it all off by placing a little macaroon cookie into the center of each one. My cake is all done now and I love how it turned out. It looks super fancy and super elegant, but yeah, it's so easy to make. And it's almost too pretty to cut, but we did have to give it a try. I'm going to try to get a little bit of everything here on my fork. Can't wait to try this. This cake is to die for good. It's a combination of like coffee, caramel, chocolate lover, everything combined in one. That salted caramel flavor really comes through, and then you have those cake layers soaked with coffee, and you have chocolate on top. So this cake is so delicious. You guys are gonna absolutely love it. Definitely put this recipe on your to-do list. You guys are gonna love this cake. You can find the full recipe for the cake and for the coffee macaroons on my new website. And don't forget to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest.